And once more, the Overwatch League returns to the heart of the South to renew one of the fiercest rivalries in the league's history. Once more, we test the Houston Outlaws and the Dallas Fuel in a no-holds-barred grudge match coming to you live here from Arlington, Texas. And it is a full house, ladies and gentlemen. What a pleasure it is to be here at the Esports Stadium, Arlington. I'm Mitch Leslie, joined by Scott Kennedy. Great to be here with you. A love letter to the city of Adelaide, I guess, and the two of us here, mate. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. It's good to be back in Dallas. The crowd has lived up to my expectations. They even gave me a Dallas Fuel jersey. It's been a few years, but they finally let me back in.
It's still got your number.
It's still got my number. Hall of Famer, surely, right?
They were so impressed by how many ults that you fat-fingered, they retired your jersey number.
Why do you have to keep bringing this up?
They couldn't give it to another player. It's cursed. There's too much attached to it now, you know what I mean? Again, we're in a position, ladies and gentlemen, where we have our Summer Showdown champions, the Dallas Fuel here, fighting to lock up the #1 seed, not only in the West, but the entire league. And that's on the table for them here. It's them, it's the Shock, and of course the Seoul Dynasty all fighting for that top seed. One thing's for sure, they're locked for playoffs. No doubt about it. But it's been a while since we've actually had these two teams go head-to-head.
Yeah, last time these two teams actually played, it was here in an arena where they played off against the Houston Outlaws at the start of the season, and the Dallas Fuel fell short massively. They fell over the Houston Outlaws. It felt like it was going to be their season, but just in the kickoff clash, they ramped everything back up, and now here we are, Dallas Fuel in that #1 seed, and I expect them to show up in that way in this match.
The Dallas Fuel not dropped a match since that mid-season madness. This has been a Cinderella run for them so far, and of course they have a stage title to add to that closet, but they're looking, of course, for the real glory here. As Tasmo mentioned in that fantastic documentary, 5 Years of Fuel, was glad to get a chance to see that here in the arena. This team's been through quite a lot, but this year they're going for the absolute top spot. And again, we have two teams in a metagame that shifted somewhat, right? Where Dallas have looked like they've been able to maintain a momentum, but the Outlaws have had some issues really gelling in this metagame.
Yeah, and it really comes down to Dante for the Houston Outlaws, being that linchpin on that tank. He has been able to show his flexibility. We knew him for his Doomfist so far throughout this season, but he showed us some Diva, he showed us some Zarya, even a little bit of Horse coming in from time to time. He's been so flexible, and it's worked against the Shock. It just worked against the Paris Eternal. Now the true test, the Dallas Fuel going up against Hanbin. Will Dante be able to go toe-to-toe?
Yeah, that's the big question here as well. So it's time, ladies and gentlemen, to give a good old Southern welcome to the Houston Outlaws! Well, that met my expectations here too, Scott.
Not really a friendly welcome from the Dallas fans, but you know, you have to expect this. There are a couple of green signs and a couple of green lights out there in the crowd for the Houston Outlaws, but the Dallas fans are dominating this one. But the Houston Outlaws have been up against this before and they thrived. Can they do it again?
Yeah, no doubt about it. Very much a different scene for them to step into here as the game has changed somewhat. And it's a team that we've been sort of curious about and how they've sort of risen and fallen through different metagames. A discussion we sort of began here earlier on. They've got Dante, like you said, someone who's in a real position to be flexible when he has to, even if we saw a lot of Doomfist play from him primarily. Now we're getting a little bit more. The Zarya, the Diva coming out from him. And I think there's a lot of question marks about how good this team is at fielding a Sombra.
Yeah, and that's really the question. We've seen Pelican picking it up, we've seen Merit picking it up. They've done, you know, musical chairs almost with those heroes. It seems like they've found their little niche. They want to put Pelican on a Genji, something he's so good at that frees up Merit to be able to play that Tracer, that Sojourn, or that Sombra. So is that going to work against the Dallas Fuel? But Creative in the backline, I think, has been big firepower for them. Being able to play that double flex support setup alongside Lastro, that's just pure bliss sometimes, and it's so hard to get into it.
Seeing Lastro obviously starting the season off playing primarily Lucio, we were blown away by how effective he was there.
Yeah.
He's able to go back to his roots and also do some serious damage. But it's about time, I think, ladies and gentlemen, to bring the roof down to welcome your hometown team. It is the Dallas Fuel!
The fans are on their feet for this team. You can just tell they're the home ground heroes and they're here to get their revenge against the Houston Outlaws. They're confident. They have not dropped a match since the mid-season madness playoffs against the Philadelphia Fusion. They have been on a tear, and just in this stage, they've only lost one map to the Washington Justice. They are the team to beat, and they are feeling confident.
And again, locking up that #1 seed is very important. Bear in mind, of course, the Outlaws are in decent stead heading into those playoffs as well. But we've got to talk about Hanbin first and foremost here. What an incredible Junker Queen meta that was for him. He seamlessly transitions over to the Zarya, and he is #1 in the league at hero damage, final blows, high energy kills, average energy, and the lowest deaths for Zarya players. Head and shoulders above the rest of his competition.
He is one of the leading MVP candidates so far for this season, and he didn't even really play in the mid-season madness. He has just been that dominant every time he's in the server. We were in this stadium in the kickoff clash where Hanbin went on an absolute tear through that bracket, but it just wasn't enough at the end. Now he's coming back to take that crown. But you got to look at the players around him for this match. He's got Edison and Sparkle next to him. Strange enough, we don't see Doha in this lineup, who has been a staple on the Sombra for them so far. So I'm curious to see what they have cooking.
Yeah, maybe something up their sleeve. We've talked about how supports have transitioned into a double flex support meta. I think Chio has been one of the more impressive and surprising results. We knew him as this super aggressive Lucio player, but picks up the Zen and looks just incredibly formidable in that role as well. That leaves Fielder free to do what he does best on that Ana especially.
You never want to leave Fielder free, and that's the problem. Chio has, as a rookie, if Proper didn't exist in this league, he would be in the conversation as a main support of Rookie of the Year. He's stepped up head and shoulders above anyone else's expectations, and especially in this meta, as you said, being able to have that flexibility to play those Zenyatas gives them so many options without having to sub players around like some other teams are struggling with. So the Dallas Fuel looking to be in prime form right now for this meta, and hopefully for the future one in the playoffs.
It doesn't matter what time of year you ask these teams about how important a battle for Texas is. Start of the year, middle, could be a playoff game. One thing remains the same. Both teams desperate. They're so hungry to get this kind of win, regardless of, I guess, the implications in the overall season standings, right? Both these two teams are pretty comfortable right now, but as we head into what would be a different playoffs meta, right now, getting those league points up their sleeve and, of course, these bragging rights is a big deal.
Confidence goes a long way when you're going into these big matches in the playoffs. As much as it doesn't matter right now, that confidence is a big thing. The Houston Outlaws took that Texas trophy home last time. They need to do it again because they have struggled so far throughout the playoffs. They have not had a good performance every time it matters. So any bit of confidence that they could get going up against the #1 seed right now in Dallas Fuel could work wonders for them in the future.
Again, we've discussed a little bit about the starting lineup for the Dallas Fuel specifically. Doha has been such a key piece of this on the Sombra. The question is, are they going to come with a composition that's completely different? You know, they do away with the Sombra. We've seen Edison obviously play a ton of hit scan very effectively, and some Reaper when he's been able to, to combine with Hanbin. Oasis is going to be our first map here, so curious to see how that comes into play. And we're again putting Dante under the microscope. Can he show us that depth of hero pool that he's been famous for before he was even a tank player on this team?
And that's really my true test for Dante as this tank player. We always question, is he going to get away with it once again? He got away with it against the San Francisco Shock with some of the most aggressive diva play that I've ever seen. He was Big Tracer in every definition, and he was playing aggressive. Is that going to work against the seamless hive mind style of the Dallas Fuel? When they do put Doe in, or when they do play Sombra, if they can hack him and isolate him, that might be a problem, and you might see him have to shift into the Zarya mirror against Hanbin, which no one wants to be in.
Whichever way you slice it, both of these teams are in their best form yet. The Outlaws have often struggled to break into that top 3, but they are right now, it feels like they're on the rise. They've got a comfortable 15-6 record over the course of the year. And we know that Dallas recently eclipsed San Francisco to go to the top of those Western standings. So a win here is big. It definitely locks up their fortunes inside that top 6. And I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, the players are getting ready. So we, too, in the arena are going to prepare ourselves. Like I said, Oasis is going to be our first map in this series and a real litmus test to see what kind of energy the Outlaws have brought into a hostile environment.
And we have Edison and Sparkle in. What are they going to play? We know Edison has been a great hit scan. We know he has been a good tracer, but he's actually shown us a Genji, and I would more than likely expect to see him be the Genji player over Sparkle in this matchup.
In those map ones, he's nasty. I mean, I think up against the Justice recently, he just deadlifted his team entirely. It was like 19-3 on Lijiang Tower, if it was, I'm not mistaken. That's right, everyone's starting to make a little bit of noise here. Something the Dallas Fuel enjoy, but the Outlaws have shown that they can be pretty indifferent to when it comes to this kind of hostile environment, Scott.
We can see them locking their compositions right now. Both teams deciding to opt in for the Baptiste, a hero that's slowly starting to make its resurgence. It did just get a buff in damage recently, and we know how good they are with the aim on that hero. So everyone's making their way, and we're going to see Edison starting on the Sojourn with Sparkle going over to the Tracer.
Let's not forget about that upfront 100 healing from Regenerative Burst as well. That was a nice buff that Baptiste got a while back. We're in the game, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to the high ground. The Outlaws getting aggressive, want to force the fuel back inside that room. Disruptor shot thrown down. There is an Immortality field already deployed, and Merit draws first blood. Chio is down, but of course the ever-aggressive Lucio fires back here. The Sojourn of Merit, though, definitely, it's a thing to be feared. Pelican is in the thick of things right now, and Harnbin going down. The Outlaws look to move into control early.
Merit gets 3 off of the rip. They get that positioning. Merit gets that superior power and gets those kills. Even with Creative going down early, they're able to close that one out. So now they have the first cap. It's ticking up for them. That's an important confidence boost for them right now.
Well, look how much space the Outlaws took early in that fight, right? They take that high ground, they push down, setting Merit up with plenty of room to work.
So with Pelican on this Genji, that's going to give them superior brawling power with that bubble, while Sparkle's just going to be a nuisance in the backline. And you can see the Dallas Fuel just getting corralled into a corner as the Outlaws going to try and push them in.
They've got to do something about Merit here. He's essentially free-firing from this high ground now. Creative lost his Immortality field already. The fighting's starting to heat up now. Okay, Amplification Matrix deployed, and Edison's already found Creative. Fielder hanging on as well. Regenerative Burst. He's looking pretty sharp, and the Outlaws quickly get dashed aside.
Creative going down first again. They're just not able to keep him alive, so they lose that sustain and just not able to stay alive this time. So now ultimates are coming up. Dante's got the Graviton Surge, Harnbin with the Graviton. They're charging this so quickly. Don't blame me for this one, Dallas. Come on.
Hey, he's in the commentary booth this time. Pelican called a pause there, just reorienting himself. Okay, so a lot to talk about already here. I feel like that pressure onto the backline, right? Creative, someone we hyped up as being an instant impact. Just add water, right? And he comes in and has huge presence for this Outlaw squad. But being able to pressure him down so early and Fielder building that amp matrix so quickly. Creative still at 68.
Yeah, and you can just tell the amount of influence that Baptiste has. He got so much value from that lamp, and that's probably another reason that you're seeing the Baptiste being picked. The Zarya is so isolatable in certain situations once she's used those bubbles. Giving her that extra couple of seconds, maybe able to get that Zarya bubble up, just gives them that extra go button and sustainability that an Ana might not give them.
We also noticed Edison threw his disruptor shot down on top of Fielder in that last fight there. So very, very difficult for Pelican to close the gap. Pressure the enemy Baptiste down after he put the window up.
Looks like we're coming out of this pause right now.
Yeah, we can all see match chat now, which is great. So we're back in the game, ladies and gentlemen.
Just got to make sure Lastro doesn't say anything too bad this time.
Yeah, his keyboard gets taken away during pauses.
So as I said, we have ultimates routing into this one. How the Houston Outlaws going to try and maneuver into this? They're going to go through this main, but that's going to allow Edison to stay high ground. They're going to Graviton at Harnbin early on. He's getting low.
It's in play. Fielder loses it, Scott. Now it's going to be the Outlaws field, and somehow they're able to burn Harnbin down. A 5 versus 4, and Dante's charged up, looking to pressure Fielder, and he can't quite get away from the Lance. The Outlaws off an amp matrix. There was a sound barrier there as well, and they deployed the Graviton Surge to win the fight. Where did Harpin's grab go?
I have no idea. That is a good question, but that is a big loss as well for the Dallas Fuel. They're going to need that one. Now they're going to have to put all their eggs in the Edison basket to be able to get value with this overclock, which can be so difficult at this choke point, and they have to be careful of Pelican's blade. As soon as Edison tries to do anything, he will be pressured by that one.
Edison, more known for light bulbs than for poultry farming. See if he can knock the Outlaws out. Okay, overclock allows him to pressure pretty aggressively here, but that's Merit takes him down. Edison, a little less than full health there. That wasn't a headshot. Dallas now in disarray.
They're having to run for the heals now, and look at the percentage. We're at 71%. They got to be careful of these staggers. Are the Houston Outlaws going to push?
They're going for
this further. Well, Merit goes down from a Harnbin, and they should cause a stabilization.
Merit missing is a huge blow to the Outlaws, so it's time for the blade. Sound barrier comes down just in time for Chill, and it looks like Pelican has got nowhere to go. He gets run out of town in every sense of the word, and Creative's defensive architecture also being torn down. Dallas are back in control.
Outlaws not losing too much for that. They should be able to get a pretty quick re-engage here, but they have no ultimates going for them. taking a quick skirmish as they're going to drop the window quite close from the Dallas field.
Dante trying to play around the corner there, stay out of that amp range. Hanbin trying to dig him out. It's been difficult. Here's the grab. It's going to catch a number of the fuel players in there. Hanbin again, immortality fuel, but that's the amp matrix going up. Another grab from Hanbin that seems reactive. Doesn't quite get the value they're looking for. The Outlaws now need to flip the point back. Pelican is out of the picture here, and Fielder is in an awful spot, Scott.
Taking a dive into the drink. Creative's lamp was so good there. Out of line of sight, so the Dallas field couldn't punish that one, so the Houston Outlaws just couldn't go down, and now we're at 98%. Anyone from Dallas going to be able to touch. Sparkle gets the first one. They have to slowly stagger this out so they can get a good engage.
Hanbin's back, this time on the Doomfist though, Scott. Chio gets caught out in the open for a brief second, but Dante's disinclined to pursue him. Maybe now it's a better time, and it is. Chio is down, Dante's charged up and ready to roll here, and all of the Dallas fuel at putting the ground. Sparkle will be the last to fall, and Hanbin a token attempt to keep the round going. He power blocks, but it'll be pushed away. Okay, Houston, started on the front foot.
Taking first blood here in a mirror matchup on the Xayah. That does not bode well for Dallas.
That is the Dallas comp.
But here's the thing, we talked and hyped up Hanbin so much earlier. He just didn't have any effectiveness with his Graviton Surges, unable to get any kills from that, something he's usually very good with. If he can find some more value from that, it could turn it around.
Some stage jitters maybe from Hanbin. Lauded as the top Xayah, at least in the West this stage. He looks anything but in that first round.
And that was something that they actually talked about in their original loss to the Houston Outlaws in the kickoff clash. They just said on the stage, when everyone was cheering for them, they just couldn't get into the game in the same way they usually do. Are they going to run into the same issue here as they roll out once again with mirror compositions, but Sparkle on that Tracer, Pelican on the Genji?
Sparkle looking to have an impact. It's been about the Sojourns and the Xayahs thus far, with plenty of cameos from our Baptiste players. And again, Houston, they take aggressive positioning first, right? They move up onto the point here, dare the fuel to advance.
Dallas are willing to play further back, maybe to give Sparkle a little bit more room to work with, play around those health packs, but Sparkle just hasn't been able to find any pressure onto the backline.
You can see Creative's health bar though, so he's definitely tickling the Baptiste, but nothing lethal yet. Charge up for Hanbin, but look at that, Dante catches Chio once more. He's still charged up in the Dallas fuel. They got nowhere to go. They're trying to get away, but the Outlaws look indomitable early.
This just isn't the same level of aggression and coordination that we expect from this Dallas Fuel roster. It feels like Dante is able to sort of stake his claim on the point and able to just stay there, and Dallas Fuel haven't been able to push him off.
Very good start from the Outlaws here. It's about the conversion from this point.
We're going to see a switch come in from Sparkle. He's had enough of that Tracer. They'd rather take that mirror matchup. We know how good Sparkle is at that Genji, but if there's anyone who's going to match him, it's going to be Pelican.
No honors here, right? So don't think about nano boost candidates. It's tougher for the Genji to get that big value out of those blades here. It's much more about those immortality fields when they're available. Sparkle trying to control the middle part of the map. It's Merit to slide away. Pelican gives Sparkle a tickle here, but he'll try and play around this center. Pagola.
Fielder gets the amplification matrix up first, and he's going to pull the trigger. This should give the Dallas Fuel space, as you're going to see the Outlaws bend back, but they're not breaking just yet as Lastro drops the beat.
Creative through the immortality field down, if I'm not mistaken, and Dante has a grab online. Fielder's drone is also down. Both teams grab each other again, but this time Dallas might get the upper hand until Pelican sneaks in the back. Sparkle has to top himself up there with a mini health pack, but 51% and counting for the Houston Outlaws. They still got a blade to play with here.
Sparkle's so far behind in this blade. Pelican is just holding on to this, waiting for the aggression from Dallas. As soon as they go in, he's going to pull that one, but they have the point. He doesn't have to do anything.
That's exactly what he's going to do. Continue to bide his time as the Outlaws get to filter back in, and we have another 5v5. Sound barrier for Chio's going to have to come out here, and it does. So the blade will be blunted. Fielder's immortality field already removed though, but Sparkle gets into the backline. Chio assists and gets rid of Creative, and that's the Dallas Fuel coming alive. Better late than never, I guess.
That's the aggression and coordination that we expect from the Dallas Fuel. Chio recognizes the blade, comes down, drop the beat, go time. They run over Creative, and with the sustainability gone, they fold over. And now the Houston Outlaws, a big task ahead of them to bring this back as they use most of their ultimates holding on to that point.
Does have Blade and Overclock to work with here. Merit will also have that Sojourn ability.
There's so much variance that comes from the Overclock. It's just such a skill ultimate, as you're going to see the pop, but Sparkle's going aggressive into Merit, and he's finding the backline.
No beat. Immortality field getting a lot of value, though. 3 players, their lifespans prolonged by Creative. and Sparkle's not able to find his mark. Merit now wants to push back in with the rest of the fuel. Fielder has an amplification matrix online, but do they have to set up to use it here? I guess no!
Fielder drops that one in desperation, something that they probably wanted a little bit later on, and that's what it feels like. You know, Sparkle going so early with that blade in a way that no one was able to follow him up, and now he's just decided to go take a dive.
This is getting out of hand, Fuel fans. 95% and counting. Last chance saloon here in this first map for the Dallas Fuel. It's an amplification matrix thrown up here to dissuade any advance from the Fuel. Hanbin needs that immortality field so bad. He's so close to a Graviton Surge. Dallas need to keep him in this fight. We are in overtime now, and Edison falls. He gets caught out on his own. He's the grab from Hanbin. He's trying to turn it around, but it will be a sound barrier from the Outlaws. The perfect answer here. And now Dallas have nothing left to work with. Dante's grab could be a game ender here, but the Outlaws can sit on the point. Pelican overextends a little bit there. The help of Hanbin goes a long way, and that's the grab that Dante was holding on to. Great immortality field. Outmaking Hanbin alive. Unreal.
Oh my god, you're going to see Hanbin aggress with that sound barrier coming from Chio, keeping them in this game. Hanbin somehow staying alive, able to pull back against the Outlaws and keep themselves in this map.
How do they keep him up, Scott? That is absurd. Hanbin down to about 25% of his health when that immortality field was dropped. Fielder comes alive, and the Outlaws spend pretty heavily in that fight. Sound barrier, Graviton Surge getting used here. The Dallas Fuel have a bit to work with coming up.
Yeah, Fielder has that amplification matrix. He's going to try and find as much value, stop the Houston Outlaws from walking in, but the Pelican Blade is the thing you need to keep your eye on here. Is he going to be able to get onto the backline and find value? So far this map, neither Genji has been able to do so.
Here's that amplification matrix. We'll keep the Outlaws quiet for a time.
He's down.
Pelican, he had the blade. He was the chosen one. Hanbin picks him off, and now the Outlaws are in trouble. We're at 87% and counting. Scott, this one's going to go to the wire.
Dallas aren't going to let them retreat here. They're going to keep applying the pressure, force the Houston Outlaws to run through them to the point to make it as hard as possible to keep that touch going.
Pulse bomb here for Edison. That could be a backbreaker for Houston. There's the grab from Hanbin. He almost gives up his own life for it, but Dante's been taken down. 5 versus 4. Lastro trying to circle around the point. The blade's got to be big. It's creative with the Amp Matrix finding one. Sparkle's blade, though, getting rid of that Baptiste. And now there's more to be done. Sparkle says, no, no, no. This is our town.
The Dallas Fuel is that team, one of the few teams that we have in the league who can make miracles like that happen time and time again. We saw it happen most recently in the playoffs. They're winning fights, they're winning rounds they should have no right to win. Houston Outlaws getting a taste of their own medicine on that one, and the Dallas Fuel take this to a 1-1.
A long round. We cycled through a lot of iterations of those ultimates, right? A lot of these Graviton Surges where is this immortality field from Fielder. So glad they caught this play, Scott.
So good.
He's still firing while healing his teammate, by the way. He didn't even use a regenerative burst.
They're so talented. There's a reason I'm standing up here and they're sitting down there right now. This Dallas Fuel team is absolutely locked in now. They're both taking position, and this is the first time off the rip we've seen Dallas take position, but Pelican punishes Edison.
Good opener here for Houston. Fielder's immortality field down. Pelican, a quick deflect here, but he knows, yep, he's got the taste for blood. Credit to the Outlaws, they really come and take momentum early in these rounds. Up against an opponent they know is formidable, they're not afraid.
Houston has won every first fight on every single round so far in Oasis, and that's such a big indicator for who usually wins the round. You get such a big advantage. Can the Dallas Fuel come up with magic again to get positioning? Houston Outlaws have bent back a little bit because of the respawns for their team. Hanbin has so much positioning so early on in this fight.
He's healthy, his team's keeping him tall. Oh, that's awkward. Okay, that's a long walk to get back in position. Can the Outlaws take advantage of this? They do. Edison gets picked off, Scott.
Edison goes down and they've lost the point. So the Dallas Fuel, they're trying to hold on to this position, getting as much percentage as they can. Hanbin goes down, Fielder's about to go down, but that is not a bad fight to lose because you got 13%. The Houston Outlaws aren't accruing that. Off of nothing, they got a little bit of something.
Unfortunate for Hanbin to have fallen back there. You saw that actually in the previous fight. They cleared the barriers around that center well, so you would fall in there.
With how convincing the Outlaws have won these two fights, though, they have ultimates up first, and then they're going to use them early, catching the Dallas Fuel off guard, but they've been able to rotate away from them Dante's down early.
Edison, what a shot on Dante. It's a trade in the end. Creative eventually brings him down, having that Baptiste impact again and again. It looks like the Outlaws, they spend pretty heavily here, but they get to hang on to the point.
Yeah, that was a little bit of an awkward engage. They dropped the window, but the Dallas Fuel had already passed them by, waving them goodbye. Hanbin trying to hold on to this energy. Lamp goes down, and he is going to hold on to that energy, and that's so important. That's so much damage. As we actually have Hanbin beating Dante to the Graviton Surge, but this is the big fight. Dallas Fuel need to turn this one around as they Graviton Surge Dante early.
Apropos of apparently nothing, comes the grab. Dante caught up inside it. He'll have to hold on to that ult of his own. The Outlaws seeking to hold on to the point for as long as they can. Every extra percentage helps, and a 73-15, quite the lead here, and the Outlaws have ult advantage.
You can see how Hanbin wants to use these Graviton Surges. Every single time it has been almost solely onto Dante, recognizing he is the major threat. If you can take him down, you win the fight, and that is a clear example of that. Dante returning the favor now.
Sound barrier comes out, it's just in time. Fielder's Immortality Field buys Chio time to get in position, but it's still not enough. Dante pulls up short. Sparkle gets taken down as he tries to get to the enemy Zarya. Remember, the Fuel still control the point, so the Outlaws want to be expeditious about this.
That was 3 ultimates right there. They have nothing else to hold on to this point as they're actually going to give it up a little bit. Creative trying to put the exclamation point on this fight.
That's the flip for the Outlaws, plus the amplification matrix. Chio gets caught there, but it ends up being a trade. Both teams down there, Lucio.
Percentage points going up right now, 85%.
Sparkle. And Edison.
Hello?
Where are the Outlaws? It's just Merit now trying to hang on. Unbelievable turnaround.
Get away with it. Little bit of hubris there from the Outlaws, thinking that they were going to be able to clean that up easily, but Edison and Sparkle showing their dominance right now as we're going to get a replay of this one.
He's just unattended in the backline. Look at this damage. An unlikely flip there, Scott, but the Fuel find themselves now in the driver's seat. They have to hang on for the rest of the round. They're dealing with a Lastro sound barrier.
We're going to see the Merit drop the overclock as Fielder drops the application matrix. Hanbin's down already, just too much damage from Merit.
Hanbin's so far away from his team, there wasn't anything they could do to keep him alive, and the Outlaws, undeterred by the way their previous fight went, they move straight back in, and now we're in dire straits for the Fuel. No chance to touch here at the end of the round. And would you believe it, the Houston Outlaws start in an early lead.
There's a green crowd in the corner of this stadium that's going wild right now as the Houston Outlaws, with an upsetting first map, kind of catching the Dallas Fuel flat-footed a little bit from time to time. Like, how are they able to just walk into that final fight, find that pick-off into Hanbin without any support coming in? Dallas Fuel need to get their head in the game, otherwise this series could slip away from them once again.
Was fought on a basis of fundamentals there, Scott. Both teams with mirrored compositions on a map that's really about those fights, and it was the Outlaws that come out looking a little stronger there. That's a big deal and a great way to make a statement to start this series, everybody. We'll be live, of course, back from Arlington, Texas after the break.
Please don't let me in.
Please don't let me into my zone. I just need some time on my own. All these people trying to get a conversation. You can conversate to that tone. My gut eyes on that throne, yeah. So I'm never alone, yeah. All these people trying to box me in. I'm at whether it's on, yeah. Now they ask where I'm at. Making hits that line back. I'm MJ, I'm 2-3, man. I just need some time back. I'm zoned in like defense. My life gone, no recess. But I live my best one, so I got no regrets. So I'm gone. Finally back in my home. I'm working like so much. They swear I had me a clone. Can't answer my phone now. Just leave it there, that tone. Ballin' can't beat me up, cause I'm back in my zone now.
So what could be more Houston Outlaws than turning up to spoil the party, Scott? What an opener from this squad. Impressive performance, to say the least.
The Houston Outlaws just seem to hit another gear whenever they're in front of the Dallas Fuel fans. Maybe they should just stop booing them at this point, because it seems to be kicking them into another gear, and every single player on that Outlaws squad is firing on all cylinders. Merritt getting opening picks on that Sojourn, Pelican going crazy on that Genji, outperforming Sparkle in that matter, Dante somehow going toe-to-toe with Hanbin on that Xayah, and the backline doing backline things. Houston Outlaws are such an impressive squad that always seems to find that next level in regular season matches against the Dallas Fuel.
What do you make of this switch to, more Baptiste here and no Sombre in that first map?
This just screams to me something has happened in scrims throughout the week that has made people move away from it, because going into this match, I would have said Doha is instrumental in the success of the Dallas Fuel. No Doha, no win has seemed to be a trend for the Dallas Fuel for a long time. But as we go into this next map, once again, we are going to see Edison and Sparkle filling that DPS role, which makes me feel they're not going to go towards that Sombra once again.
And again, our second map in this series will be Paraíso. And again, an opportunity to see some of that diva play. We know Dante's flexed over there. We know Han been extremely strong in that role. And yeah, so we're seeing, a meta game start to play out now where very much a matter of Genjis with no nano blades, right? Maybe the focus shifting back to the impact that Sojourn could have. Some teams opting to bring Tracer instead. Dallas tried, obviously, to put Sparkle on that Tracer, and he didn't really have the results I think they were looking for out of him.
Yeah, and I think that shift over from Sparkle to the Tracer to Genji is probably going to be a more consistent one throughout the rest of this series, right, because he just wasn't able to find any purchase into the backline. We talked about how good Lastro and Creative are. You're not going to get those free picks that you might get against other teams. So now we go over to Paraíso. This is a map that a lot of teams do like to play the Diva on, but there are some that just prefer to keep playing that Xayah because you have so much power on that card being on that objective. And if the Diva tries to get close to a fully charged Xayah, that's just Frowny Town right there.
Yeah. Nothing a Diva can do about that Xayah damage. Also, I was wondering, do we get to see a little bit more of that double flex support here? But it seems like Dallas want to keep Chio on the Lucio right now. Feel that the Baptiste really seems to be the order of the day, prolonging the lifespan of the Xayah, especially when those grabs, giving you a potential answer to a Graviton Surge like we saw on Oasis can be pretty powerful, it seems like, what these teams are valuing right now.
Yeah, absolutely. As we see the Dallas Fuel roll out on their defense, Sparkle will stick onto that Tracer, maybe liking the ability to just sort of maneuver on the high ground, shoot down at the team. But the Houston Outlaws, Merritt going over to that Sombra, I'm curious to see how that is going to affect this matchup, because in the last one, he was so strong on that Sojourn, but maybe not feeling like on the offense he's going to be able to get that rail charge up, find those picks like he just did.
Again, I mean, you would charge your rail easily off shields in past metas, but you don't want to charge your rail off a Xayah bubble.
Yeah.
You're giving damage over your opponent. Merritt's already headed to the end of the map. Maybe somebody needs to tell him he needs a payload for that. He's going to wrap around, and already the cracks are starting to form in this Dallas Fuel defense. Hanbin is brought down. The aggression from the Outlaws again swamping the Fuel.
Merritt was barely even set up. How did that pick come to be?
It was a 4v5.
He's just standing on the high ground, and Hanbin goes down as Houston Outlaws, they have got the number of the Dallas Fuel right now. They need to start finding a switch up, and Sparkle already making that transition back to the Genji.
And back to the Tracer.
Okay, never mind. Sparkle's just messing with me at this point.
But what does it tell you about what's maybe going on inside comm, Scott? There's a bit of uncertainty. Look at Hanbin just getting completely body blocked there as well.
Yeah, I don't think he was expecting everyone to be on that bus and making that jump over. That's the first time I've seen that from a team. But as you said, Dallas Fuel not really having a clear idea of how they want to set this up. That kill onto Merritt should hopefully give them a little bit of confidence, and the spawn camp can start. We've seen so many times when you get these picks that you can close these people out in the doors. Hanbin's got to be careful though as he gets low.
Oh, Hanbin, he's not out of the woods yet. Immortality Field was used, but he brings Pelican and Dante down. That investment in the front line are paying off.
That's an important pick by Lastro, though, getting Hanbin down. That will probably force the retreat of the Dallas Fuel, sort of alleviating that spawn camp that I was just talking about. But this is probably the most difficult point on Paraíso to capture it, because you can have your defensive team set up on that back high ground. You can dictate the choice of when you want to take these fights. With such little high ground presence from the Outlaws, it's going to be hard for them to be able to sort of choose their battles.
Seems like you lose a lot of time from staggers here as well. Your spawn room is just so far away if you are beaten in a fight but not completely annihilated. Sparkle under a fair bit of pressure on this high ground. You can see that Lastro, Pelican already up on that high ground. Looking to take that advantage away from the Fuel.
Oh, wow.
Oh, love that! Descending upon Merit, giving him a slap that he'd sooner forget.
And this is the value of the Tracer, right? Is he's so slippery and he can just exist in your backline. And the Outlaws, they can't invest the resources to look at him and focus on him, because that just helps everyone else. So now maybe this is where the Dallas Fuel composition comes to fruition.
So how do you navigate this low ground as the Zarya player, right? Typically tough for Dante to get to grips with anyone unless they drop in front of him.
And that's really the question. We've seen so many teams struggle with that over the last couple of weeks. Teams have tried to play Diva. Graviton Surge in the spawn door. The beat comes out a little bit late. Fielder is down, so the sustainability of the Dallas Fuel has ended, but it looks like they should have gotten what they wanted. They got the ultimates out in their spawn door. Not good for the Outlaws.
This is all windows, but the Outlaws get shown the door there as the Fuel play incredibly close to their spawn. You have to wonder to what degree that's strategic, to what degree that's psychological impact they're looking for. But the Outlaws here, double flex support now. Lastro on the Zen.
He is so strong on this Zenyatta, going to get them so much more damage that Hanbin's going to have to play more careful with that Discord orb. He can get punished so hard. But the person I'm looking at is Dante with the Graviton Surge. He's just moving around here on the low ground. It's going to be hard for him to find a target to isolate.
Maybe he'll try and grab someone up on that high ground and let Pelican dive on them. Oh, what? That's unreal. The Discord orb is everywhere for Lastro, and Pelican follows up.
So with where the card is, that's a great stall by Sparkle. Maybe the Dallas Fuel will try and re-engage onto this one. They have the sound barrier to get back onto this point, but are they going to be able to close this distance? Merit with the overclock, Pelican with the blade, it should be able to just chew through that sound barrier and extra health it provides.
Hanbin wants to push up, but that's going to be the blade coming out from Pelican here. The Dallas Fuel already used that sound barrier there, hanging on to life, but Pelican gets rid of Fielder. That immortality Fielder's down, and a deflect kill on Chio. Pelican's starting to run wild, and the Outlaws running circles around the Fuel. He's smiling, he's laughing, it's another day at the office.
He's got that look in his eyes right now. You know, when Pelican gets that look, that protagonist look, I'm worried for the Dallas Fuel right now, because Pelican, they do not have an answer to him right now, and he's just running rings around the Dallas Fuel.
This is Pelican going wild here. Fielder and his drone down in the one shot, and my God. Looking dangerous, Scott. Very dangerous. Dallas forced back here to play in this high ground. And Pelican constantly probing, surging forward.
And they don't have any ultimates to be able to stop this cart from pushing right now. They're looking for picks. Edison's trying to find an angle to isolate someone, but they haven't got anything going for them. Creative's trying to set up a window.
Edison trying to get some value out of this high ground while he still can. The cart advances too much further and he'll be stuck on the ground with the rest of the peasants.
You can see how Dante's just playing this Zarya. He's not really doing anything. He just sort of exists on the cart. He's got gold objective time right now for sure.
Pelican's trying to charge his rail. He's not getting anywhere. He's been stuck at 40 for ages, and here comes an Ant Matrix. I don't think anybody from the Dallas Fuel wants to test this. Lastro, though, feels like he has to do that there.
Forced out early. That's not how he wanted to use it, and the Dallas Fuel just happy getting that one out. But as you can see, the cart's getting closer and closer. Hanbin's fully charged, and he's running down the Outlaws, who are stuck in this small room.
A trade there still. Lastro's able to find Sparkle, and Fielder's lost that immortality field once more. It's going to be up to Hanbin here to really be a stalwart front for the Fuel as they reposition behind him. And he's able to force the Outlaws back for a time. The grab here for Dante again. It's a one-player grab. And I think Hanbin's happy with that.
That triggers the reset. All of a sudden, you can start stabilizing. The ultimate economy can start cycling through. Are they going to go gamble and get close to the spawn door? It didn't work for them last time that well. But no, they're going to think better of it and back off as we see Lastro switch off of the Zenyatta and back to the Lucio, recognizing that there's just not going to be enough distance between him and the Dallas Fuel that he's just going to get forced down and poked down. As we see a Graviton Surge go down early from the Dallas Fuel. But Chio's the one who goes down.
Yep, this time the Immortality Field isn't enough. It was Dante's that he held on to. Lastro down to a Pulse Bomb though. Sparkle trying to equalize here, but Dante has other plans. Ushering his team forward towards that cart. Sparkle's still getting work done here, eventually going to be brought down. But there'll be time for the fuel to start to trickle back in here. The Outlaws are far from done, Scott.
Sorry, that was Dante's Graviton Surge that caught Hanbin sleeping right now, and now they've got that positioning. They are trying to sink, but they're stuck on this low ground. It almost feels like they're unable to sort of get this cart going any further with the superior positioning of the Dallas Fuel, but Pelican's going in with the blade.
Bubble and blade, Soundberry going to be there for Chio, and it's going to be enough. It lets the fuel stave off the Outlaws, and Pelican's impact now being severely reduced. The fuel are starting to find their feet.
Great response from the backline of the Dallas Fuel. Chio drops that sound barrier, making it impossible for Pelican to find anything with that one. And only 45 seconds remaining. We're going into last fight territory, and the Houston Outlaws, they have a couple of ultimates. Merit is going to need to come up clutch for the Outlaws once again.
Dallas really staking their claim to this high ground, and they have been extremely hard to shift in the last couple of minutes. Merit trying to pressure build up those rails from long range. Overclock now going to be unleashed, but where are the fuel gone? They're dropped into their foxholes. Over the top comes Merit, still probing, looking for an opening, nothing. Pulse for Sparkle here is going to be looking for something. Scott Creative has that amplification matrix in play, and that's what Merit was looking for. Finds the pick on Edison now, but Hanbin's wrapped around behind them. A lot of pressure coming from the Dallas Fuel, but they're running out of players. A desperation grab, Scott. It's not enough. Sparkle's Pulse Bomb will be mostly ignored as the Outlaws get home in overtime.
Dallas Fuel go for the right play, try and wrap around onto the backline, but the Outlaws sniff that one out. Punish Hanbin for his aggression, and they're going to finish with no time. That is an important factor on Hybrid right now. But the Dallas Fuel, this is a hard map to finish. Paraíso, we don't see it happen very often. Another mountain that they have to climb.
A very pleased Outlaws contingent there in the crowd, seeing their team put up an admirable offense. Dallas now need to replicate this. It's odd. It feels like we're in a microcosm, a meta of its own here. It's a little bit different to what we've often seen. See none of that Sombra so far. Genji's really having to get it done without the Ana. A lot more focus about what you can do with that amplification matrix. A lot of Baptiste players trying to have individual impact with that ability and set up for their Sojourns to capitalize.
Dallas Fuel just doesn't look as comfortable as they did when they could have Fielder on that Ana or Doha with that Sombra. That was really their ability to isolate and keep Hanbin and make him their main man. But with this Baptiste shift, it feels like the backline has a lot more impact and the sides are a lot more susceptible to too much damage, to getting isolated. And Dante is just doing a much better job of navigating around that than Hanbin is at the moment.
After how much we talked up Hanbin at the start of this match, that's no small compliment to pay someone like Dante. Ever since his days on the San Francisco Shock, his coaches talked him up about being able to play anything. That claim being put to the test in the last couple of years, and so far he's passing with flying colors, Scott.
I asked Dante earlier in this year when, are you going to go back to DPS or are you going to keep playing tank? And he said, I will play whatever the team needs me, and he is doing that once again for this team. Picking up the Xayah, a hero he's not known for, and finding value.
Not nearly the same kind of pace from the Fuel on the attack as we saw from the Outlaws, right? Think back, the Outlaws overwhelmed Hanbin instantly. But the Dallas Fuel aren't able to start up anything remotely like that. Lacking a kindling for a real wildfire here. Now they're going to have to let it simmer.
Yeah, and because they're playing that Lucio for Chio, they need to play faster than the Outlaws. With that Discord orb from last round, the Zenyatta, it's just going to be way more damage, way more pick potential. As you can see, the Dallas Fuel slowly starting to get in now, maybe getting that crack of the door open before they kick it down.
There's an opening here for Dallas, and they're trying to capitalize. Lastro brought down by Sparkle. That's a big opener. Dante may be next on the chopping block here if Hanbin has his say. Still tough to break through. Dante is getting healed up now. Air Matrix to Hanbin's left. He's ignoring it. That might be his folly. Dante's impossible to kill.
No way.
Fielder's done it though, Scott. That Air Matrix, again, we talk about Baptiste individually making use of that ultimate, and he does in a big way. You want a sharpshooter, backline support player, Fielder's your man.
And I have to give credit to Creative on the other Baptiste as well. He kept Dante alive for so long, unreasonably long, and he is a recent acquisition for this team, getting traded from the Seoul Dynasty, and we were questioning who's getting...
God.
Oh my, that's too much damage for a support. Never mind, I take that back. Supports keep buffing.
You okay with that?
Yeah, I'm okay with it, actually. Well, I need to learn how to aim before I can do that.
It's been a while since they were playing Mercy in the league, hey?
That's why, once again, I'm standing up here.
Scott, 5-man res, Kennedy.
Press Q in the middle of the round, Kennedy.
Oh!
Chio down early. That's going to slow down the push and the progress of the Dallas Fuel. Dante's going to try and push that further. Drops the Graviton Surge, but Merit's the one who goes down.
Yeah, Pulse Bomb there from Sparkle, and the Immortality Field again expertly deployed by Fielder. And here's the grab. The crackback's looking pretty scary, but quite a few players behind that building. Only Dante dragged out into the open. Harmbin will deal with him. And so will the rest of the Outlaws come crumbling down.
And I talked about how difficult this position is to break for the offensive team, and the Dallas Fuel have broken it early. Now he can hold this choke, take this high ground. This is going to be very difficult to displace Hanbin with 100 energy sitting up here.
He knew Pelican was coming his way as well. The little tech is to get up on the bridge, controlling high ground where they can. It's an overclock here for Merit. Edison has one of his own. Sound barrier, that's going to go a long way as the Immortality Fields are brought down. It's Lastro's Transcendence, though, that keeps the Outlaws alive.
Expensive fight for the Outlaws, had to pop a lot of things to keep this one going, but Merit has just been so impressive this season, not just on his hit scan. You know, we talked about how statistically he was one of the best Sojins in earlier metas. He's been able to play that Sombra, he's been able to play that Tracer. He's really picked up anything the Outlaws have need in a similar vein to Dante, coming in clutch in this series time and time again.
It reminds me of his time on O2 Blast, where Proper was the star on that team as well.
Yeah.
And Merit would sort of just work around him, play whatever had to be played to fill that in. He comes into his own in a big way, but that flexibility he had to learn back then pays dividends now. We got Ant Matrices from both of our Baptistes here, Scott.
But you can see where Creative's sitting. He's going to be able to sit up here alongside Lastro, and it's just going to be very difficult. We got window on window right now, in the window.
Oh, Lastro able to find Fielder to open that up. That is huge. Both teams trying to make the play, but the Outlaws have better positioning to capitalize again. Chio, that trademark aggression. Lastro also known for it. We'll shut that Lucio down, and the Fuel here starting to run out of steam. 2:35 on the clock. A decent amount to work with here, but Dallas is starting to get snarled up.
Sparkle looming in the backline right now. You can see Pelican trying to hunt him down, recognizing how much of a threat he will be if he can remain there, but they're unable to get him. As you see, Dallas Fuel taking this top aggression, being able to sort of push the Outlaws, stay out of line of sight. They have the pulse bomb from Sparkle. He needs to find some value onto Lastro right here.
There it is! The stick that we all asked for. Lastro's going to be brought down as Dallas muscle their way onto that high ground position. Pelican, though, gives as good as he gets. He gets rid of Chio and then Fielder. It's got to be another grab here. Pelican can't do much about it. Awkward grab as well, from low to high ground, but it catches two players. And this means that Dallas Fuel are home free for this next checkpoint, Scott.
Dante switching over to the Doomfist. I think that might be one that he switches back to the Xayah.
Run it back, baby. The Doomte lives again.
Take Chio down.
Kills.
Only Dante things on that Doomfist. Chio going back to the spawn, it's not a big deal. But now we get into this third point, 3 minutes remaining. For Dallas Fuel, they're not working with 3 minutes. If they can work this in 2 minutes, that's where the value comes in, because they will get an overtime push and the Houston Outlaws won't. So they want to go fast, they want to play aggressive. Pelican has the blade, something that he's found mixed success so far in this match. Maybe getting a little bit over-aggressive. Can the Dallas Fuel punish it once again?
It's a lot to ask of a Genji without that Ana to back them up, especially with Lucio in the mix and the Immortality Field to get through, but he's going to go for it anyway, Scott. Immortality Field thrown down for Pelican's benefit, but he can't convert.
He's just unable to find any value. Never mind.
Sorry. Just throws those out there nonchalantly. He's able to find the kill, but Edison, he reciprocates. In fact, he returns the favor with interest. Lastro down to that overclock here. The fight getting very messy in the front line, but Edison holds his own. And Dallas, it's not pretty, it's not clean, but they bulldoze through the Outlaws again. 2 minutes 10 on the clock.
It doesn't need to be pretty, it doesn't need to be clean. Edison coming up clutch. He's been so impressive lately in this stage on that hit scan. And Dallas Fuel, they have 4 ultimates going for themselves now to close out this map. As you said, 58 seconds to do so.
Transcendence here for Lastro. Creative's window is the one up first, but Dante is down. The stalwart frontliner for the Outlaws goes by the wayside earlier now. Houston have to take cover. This card is getting close. Creative getting battered in the backline, and Chio wanted him so badly, but the Transcendence is going to be there for Lastro. Out onto the point he goes. Pulse bomb on Creative, though. a firecracker, and the Fuel get the map done.
Sparkle and Edison coming alive in this series, and the Dallas Fuel needed it. I said they were climbing this mountain. They're almost at the top. They got a minute 34 to be able to capture the first point to take this map. This would be a massive motivational boost for this team that has struggled so far in this series. But the Outlaws sort of slipping and sliding. Dante switching that Doom Fist, sort of losing a little bit of poise at the end, and it might cost them.
Something we're scrutinizing a lot in this series already is that early round from Dallas on the attacking side.
Yep.
They've been less inclined to be the aggressor so far this series. Obviously, they have to on the attacking side, and they were a little bit slow on their first push here. They need to get it all together and find a way to overwhelm the Outlaws quickly. Lastro's going to come out of the gates on the Lucio straight away here. Maybe a concession for the Tracer of Sparkle.
And that's sort of the story of this map so far. We questioned the Tracer a little bit, but when Lastro's going to play on that Zenyatta, Kirby!
Like a Christmas tree, Scott. Ho, ho, ho. Creative, you got to go.
And as I was saying, Sparkle on that Tracer can put so much pressure onto a Zenyatta. That's a difficult one for the Zenyatta to win. So now, as you said, Lastro goes over to this Lucio. They're going to lose some of that firepower. Can Sparkle keep finding value with that Tracer on this first point? He should be able to get another Pulse Bomb. Can he put the axe down? Sparkle? No.
Surely. No, he just pulls the shot. Okay.
Doesn't want to give him energy.
Humanitarian. Yeah. Okay, Harmon gets up on that high ground pretty quickly here, but he's unwilling to push forward, so has to give that high ground up. Chio classically is always the cat amongst the pigeons here.
He's trying to find someone to boop off of that ledge right now, give them a little bit of positioning. Oh my.
Oh, this guy's crazy.
He's just in the back line.
He's all about it. Loves himself a bit of argy-bargy, Scott.
But they've got this positioning a little bit now. You can see the Houston Outlaws forcing out the field, but Field is the one that goes down first. But Dante's getting very low.
There's only 55 seconds left in the round, but the Outlaws lose a key player. The Fuel can advance with this core 4. Chio looks to wrap around the side, lending healing there to Sparkle.
They have to wait for Fielder right now. They do not have the healing to be able to progress forward, but they have the positioning. We're going to get a 5v5 fight on the high ground. Hanbin wants to start getting this tick going.
Chio standing inside the Disruptor shot with amped heals there, trying to build up that ult, I guess. It's Pelican down. Oh dear, Hanbin is very charged up. Dante trying to hold his own if he can, but the Immortality Field spells doom. The Houston Outlaws are running on empty, and that's one tick to get it done. Now, we have a game.
The Fuel are determined to make this a better series than the last time they played. Coming alive, fixing the mistakes that they were running into, and forcing the Houston Outlaws to adapt to their style. We've got a series on our hands, Mitch.
What a place for it to happen as well in front of a sold-out crowd here at the Ellington Esports Stadium. What a treat this is for Overwatch fans around the world. We'll be back after the break with map number 3. It's an even series.
start the shout and the blade from Sparkle with it. Now that their flow target so high, gets deflect on the arm.
Gurio's in the back wall, he takes the double shot. And SM with a 5K! That's what you want to see!
Gio demands shears. A triple for the Lucians.
Who's getting unreal value right now? What is this?
But it's confidence in one-man army at the front.
Those that burn blue, burn brightest.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, the mercury is starting to rise in the room as the Fuel step up to the challenge issued by the Outlaws in that first map. They've evened the series after Paraíso. Pretty hard-fought game. We've got to see Dallas show a little bit more of that willingness to be the aggressor to start these fights up, Scott.
And you can start to understand why Sparkle is on that Tracer with the amount of impact that he's having, the amount of attention that he's drawing from the Outlaws. So I can start to buy into it a little bit more, but now we're going over to Circuit Royale, which is just a very different map to any other map that we have in the pool. A completely different game. We're going to see no subs come out from either team, which means Hanbin is known to be a great Sigma. Dante, probably, I guess. You know, let's be honest, Dante can play anything at this point. But I would almost expect to see another Xayah mirror on this map. We've seen certain teams do that from time to time.
Dallas are opting out of playing Sigma on this map. It's also happening in the APAC region as well. So worth bearing that in mind. While Sigma can really give you a strong front to move up with a long-range hit scan, Scott, Dallas, I mean, are unlikely to put Edison on that Widow. In fact, this is the team that generally doesn't go to that Widow too much. In fact, it was Gurio that would initially sub in for Dallas on maps like this, but you have to feel like they're going to stick with what they're feeling is good right now.
Yeah, and I think when teams have played that Xayah, they've generally opted away from playing that Widowmaker as well, because you want to be able to push that tempo with that Sojourn. We have usually seen a lot of Sombra in this situation. You can hack, you can isolate targets with the long sightlines. But without Doha being in this lineup, I don't see the Dallas Fuel going that direction. Maybe the Houston Outlaws will.
All right, people. Our third map in this series. Our first to three. It's about to kick off, and Circuit Royale, always a weird one. And it often comes up in that third map slot, right? It occurs in a part of the series where teams can create a momentum shift off of a really strong performance here. It's also the kind of map that gives us the weird results, right? So, the top team in a matchup can sort of drop the map or something similar. Again, the spawn camp is on the table, I suppose.
And that's sort of the thing, is there are important breakpoints on this map that are very important to control, right? So the first half of the first point is kind of irrelevant at this point, but we've seen so many full holds happen at that back corner of that first point. Same thing with the second. If you can be able to sort of get that momentum pushing or get an important pick or an important fight, it can all of a sudden snowball away from you. And as you said, potentially the weaker team can take that one, but we don't have a weaker team here. It's really going to be who shows up right here, right now.
Yeah, you're right. Doesn't feel like that at all. The Outlaws and Fuel start to show some stylistic preferences here. It's the Genji versus the Tracer. No spawn camp from the Fuel. They'll opt to hold this first corner.
Same thing, different map. They're going to stick with the exact same matchup. Sparkle on that Tracer, Pelican on that Genji, and this isn't going to play like a normal Circuit Royale like we expect, where there's looking for picks, it's about getting positioning. This is going to be about finding those engages, as Hanbin's getting incredibly low and Dante's aggressing.
Immortality Field down, Hanbin follows soon after. The Outlaws just able to overwhelm this front line of the Fuel. Dallas want to rely on having that Xayah just sort of stay alive forever, but it's not realistic.
It's been a consistent trend throughout this series where it feels like in the opening fights, the Outlaws just have more damage, have more presence, potentially the Genji having more impact, and Hanbin just feels like he's always on the retreat, and the Houston Outlaws can punish. And now, this is the important corner I talked about. The Dallas Fuel are going to have to try and find and re-aggress his positioning as Hanbin's already in.
Yep, Pelican undetected for the time being as he works his way into the back line. Rail missed there by Edison, but Pelican is selecting his target presently. Hanbin wants to tuck himself into that little nook, and Pelican wants to punish him with some free damage. Immortality Field's already used, but Sparkle comes out of nowhere, swoops in, takes Pelican, but Field has been picked off. Sparkle's got more work to do with that. Immortality Field down. The way might be clear for Dallas to go up a gear.
Sparkle heading back over to that Genji and finding instant value right there. Having that threat of being, if someone gets low, he is that execution presence. He can dash in, get that right click, and punish them. And now this is where it gets difficult if you're the Outlaws, trying to close this distance over time to try and get into an even fight. They do have created with the amplification matrix. Where is he going to drop it to force the Dallas Fuel to be uncomfortable?
Harmon again to be tested in the front line. A lot of pressure. Look at him trying to backtrack here. Both bubbles gone already. Graviton Surge ready. He's going to let it go instantly. Dante down with that air matrix is a little bit scary. A lot of windows thrown up here, and Harmon even is afraid to peek out. Sound barrier here for Lastro. Chio surely holds on to his. No, he's going to let it go for 3. Sparkle comes out with the blade at the same time. Here, the Outlaws just disengage.
That is a great disengage from the Outlaws, able to pull back, going against the blade, recognizing that they have the numbers. Pelican comes back with the blade.
Dropping on in. Hanbin's in deep trouble. All of his bubbles exhausted there, but Sparkle's able to get rid of Creative. It's Dallas to have to make this work without a front line, though, and Edison's giving as good as he gets. Lastro is down. This one's going to go to the wire. Pressure now on Edison as he tries to back away, but the healing is good. The regenerative burst there was clutch from Fielder.
Dallas Fuel able to stall it out just long enough for their respawners to come back, drop the ultimates. That was such a good disengage from the Outlaws, but then an even better disengage from the Dallas Fuel, just holding on so tight, able to deal with that Pelican blade. And all of a sudden, time's dwindling down, 1 minute remaining for the Outlaws. They only have the Graviton Surge from Dante to get this one across.
Dante lets it go straight away here. Trying to body block as well in front of the enemy Zarya. Harmon's going to be brought down on Fielder's Immortality Field. Not enough to keep them in it. Sparkle's deflect here. Looking a little sad as he gets pasted to the wall and the Outlaws advance. This is a knockdown, drag out, no holds barred brawl.
That was a stressful first point on Circa Royale if I've ever seen one. These Zarya matchups are just so intricate and complex on how they're using it. Dante able to find an incredible Graviton Surge against Hanbin. Fielder just couldn't keep him alive. So now we go to the curvy second point where it can be very difficult as a Zarya to assail uphill, and you can see Dante's trying to hold that position early.
Creator's able to find Sparkle through the Ant Matrix. He just throws it up and immediately Sparkle crumples. That's going to take a lot of pressure off the Outlaws, but Pelican gets caught a bit too far forward. Yeah, he's not going to be happy with that one.
It's a bad death right there because all of a sudden the Houston Outlaws are going to have to give that positioning that they just took, and now they're going to have to make their way up this high ground once again. Yeah, that's going to hurt because now Fielder has his amplification matrix. As soon as the Outlaws make a move, he's going to drop that down and stop them in their tracks.
The Outlaws running away, throwing up an Immortality Field. Looked like a white flag in that fight. They're back for more though now. Lastro's beat straight away. They're going for it. Harmon, he's deep in enemy territory, but Edison's able to bring Dante down despite the sound barrier. Merit's there, though. He's able to take down his opposite number, and Sparkle is looking so good here. Pelican's blade, blunt like a butter knife.
Expensive hold for the Fuel, but they hold nonetheless. That was actually expensive from the Outlaws as well, dropping their own sound barrier and blade. So now it's going to be how are they going to deal with the blade from Sparkle. He has struggled so far in this series getting value with that Genji blade, while Merit, he's got that overclock. How many times has he busted it open for the Outlaws?
I can't believe how quickly Dante died at the start of that fight with Beat, though. That is absurd.
Yeah.
Bubble for Sparkle. He's looking for it. Pressure on the front line. He doesn't want to dive too deep. They get that Immortality Field for the blade, and Dante falls.
Just unable to keep him alive just long enough. Sparkle does go down as they're going to the spawn doors, and this is quite a solid spawn camp right here because there's only narrow exits to get out, and Hanbin's going to the first point spawn. He's going all the way.
Trying to chase down this last player. Yeah, Pelican is down. Weird situation here now. The Fuel have to turn around as Dante comes out looking pretty angry. He's trying to build up that grab, but he won't get there. The Immortality Field can't keep him alive. Dallas is starting to get mean about it now.
They're just going to hold here, and the Outlaws don't have any ultimates to get their way out of these doors. You can see how defensible this is for the Fuel. They're just standing on these stairs, waiting for Outlaws to pick a door or any door, but it's going to be death no matter where they come. They have their amplification makes. They have the Graviton. They're going to trade them.
Did that get deflected? No. Okay, Dante has a grab of his own there. Trying to throw that up against the wall. That's ridiculous stuff. I think Harvin tried to fire it at the wall there, so it couldn't be deflected still. The Outlaws able to push out a spawn. Sparkle now can only really just hang about and wait to be dispatched. 15 seconds to go.
That was a lot of time burnt by the Fuel because of that, and we're in last fight territory. How are the Outlaws going to get this one? They're going to want to stop the Fuel from being able to get position and get onto that cart. They have the options. Creative with the window. Expect him to drop this aggressively.
And he does. 2M Matrix is down. Disruptor shots deployed. Edison.
Oh, great shot.
Just a crumpled mess now, and the Outlaws, yes, they're able to break through here. Sound barrier from Lastro goes a long way. Chio never got to use his. He was so close. And in the nick of time, Houston come up with the goods.
Almost a little too aggressive for my liking from the Dallas Fuel. They had more time. They didn't have to push so rush willy-nilly into the Outlaws, maybe trying to catch them off guard because they aren't going to get another fight, and that will be the second point capture. Wait. Yeah, second point capture for the Houston Outlaws.
Now that one's going to hurt the Fuel. Can't be happy with that one. I've been on the Reinhardt, Scott. Talk to me.
No, I can't talk to you. I got nothing for you. That feels like a massive overcommitment from the Dallas Fuel to try and get that recontest for the second point as well. Now, the Outlaws are going to get a lot of the second point. They get a lot of their ultimates up once again. Harbin has to switch back over. Edison has to switch back over. You don't have that 30% passive charge like you do on the live server right now, only for the DPS. So Harbin's got nothing to work with for this third point.
Dallas trying to work their way around the outside of the hotel here. Edison at the 4. Okay, the Outlaws have advanced pretty far through. Dallas had to make the move. It's got to be now. Sparkle into a deflect early. Sees creative, but is unwilling to challenge him for too long. This blade gets no value.
Merit overclock.
This is awkward, Scott. Dallas on the wrong side of the map. It's going to be a sound barrier for 4, and they race into the Outlaws here. Pelican has a Dragon Blade, and he cuts Edison down to size. And there's more where that came from. The Outlaws now building up ahead of steam.
Pelican with a 15 kill streak, that just goes to show how dominant he is right now on this Genji. And now Dante with the Graviton Surges. Harbin's going over to the trusty Reinhardt once again.
Graviton Surge for Dante here could just seal the deal. Nothing Harbin will be able to do about it. He goes into the back line. It's a May he has to deal with. The Ryan's still able to get out into the point though. Immortality filtered down, but Chio's missing, and it's going to be numbers for the Outlaws as they push in. Cheeky little stall there from Sparkling. Ice block form, but it won't be enough, and in overtime, the Outlaws get their prize.
That is a landslide effect from that second point recontest where they just tried to make these switches. Dallas Fuel maybe getting a little overconfident in themselves after that spawn camp, and the Outlaws come back, punish them for their, I guess, overconfidence, and the Outlaws finish the map, another map that is quite difficult to finish.
In another reality, it could have been the Outlaws being held there before they got that second checkpoint. Very quickly, things got out of control. And it looked like, Scott, we saw Dallas go around the outside of the hotel for that sort of last phase. Maybe they didn't realize just how far the card had moved, because they dropped down, and all of a sudden there's a sense of urgency about them trying to, get on the card and actually beat the Outlaws in a head-to-head fight.
Because they wanted to get 2 fights on that third point, so they wanted to get that quick route around, but because of how late that contest was on the second point, it just took them too long, and as you said, they had to force ultimates to try and commit to that fight. So by the time we got to the very, very end, we got Harbin on Reinhardt once again, and a May coming in from Sparkle. Yeah, not the Dallas Fuel that we know and love. Let's see if they make any changes, or if they're just going to try and reset their mental.
Now, what do you think if Fielder hovering the Ana here doesn't necessarily feel super likely, but it does mean that Sparkle can get supercharged here?
I doubt that they would commit back onto that Ana. Honestly, the Baptiste is making a great name for itself in this series of how valuable it is, especially with those amplification matrices and how fast you get them. Maybe a sleep and a run? No, he's going to commit to it. As we see the first Ana for the series, you get the value of the nano boost. You get the biotic grenade that can isolate the Xayah. Fielder's a great Ana. Can he find value?
A lot of pressure though. That's something you've got to worry about if you're playing Ana, and Dante laces him down. Okay, it's a trade there, but Dallas have the advantage. They've got tempo, and they're now starting to exercise that lead. Looks like it's a full-scale rout for the Outlaws.
Good first fight for the Dallas Fuel as they get through this first phase. I'm really curious to see how Fielder is going to find value on this Ana, because the immortality field from the Baptiste has been so strong from creative. How many times have we seen Dante live that extra second that makes all the difference? So now we're going into this end of the first checkpoint, a very difficult point to get. No ultimates, just a toe-to-toe fight.
Edison would kill for an early pick here, literally, I suppose. Nothing forthcoming though, but a lot of pressure on Dante. Where are the bubbles? Where's the health? Immortality field had to be used to keep him up, and so far it's worked.
Getting low.
Pelican.
He's trying to find that pick. Pelican overextends though.
Harbin falls though to Merit. That's definitely Dallas coming off second best. They're losing their front liner. Dante seems to be happy to go forward now, and Fielder gets picked off by Merit. No immortality field for Dallas. Maybe they're feeling the absence of that ability.
I think going back to a little bit of comfort for themselves, I talked about how Fielder has primarily played Ana throughout this meta, maybe just feeling that finding that comfort zone for themselves. He is coming up on that nano. It will make Hanbin drastically stronger than Dante, but Creative already has this amplification matrix. How's Dallas Fuel going to navigate around this? It's just so much damage that's going to push through, forcing Hanbin into a bad situation, and they're going to go very, very early.
Oh, that's a great window spot, Scott. And look at this, Hanbin is stuck inside. He's not getting out. It's the Hotel California, baby. Merritt finds 2 there. And Pelicans putting a lot of pressure on Edison. This is a very good look for Houston now. They've burnt 2 minutes plus off the clock.
Chio tries to commit the sound barrier to get them through that one as well. That's going to be an expensive one, because now Pelican has a blade that will not have an answer to it, because they don't even have the immortality field for Fielder because he's on that Ana. Houston Outlaws taking control of this map. A minute 30 remaining for the Dallas Fuel to try and get through the first point.
Even if you nano the Genji, you've got an immortality field to deal with. Speaking of Genjis, it's Pelicans' time to stand up. Cut down by Hanbin, can't mitigate the damage with deflect there, but Merritt now. Overclock, and that nano went Hanbin's way. He gets a grab up, but who's going to be there to follow up on it? No one. So many ultimates for Dallas, getting so little value.
It feels like they're so reactive. It feels like the Outlaws are controlling the tempo, and the Dallas Fuel are just always on that back foot, which is not how we normally know them. So it feels like that tempo change from the Outlaws is just catching them off guard.
It's something that the Justice routinely do to the Fuel when they go head-to-head. It was something that was a problem for them in Toronto especially. Dallas don't like the pace being taken away from them. The Outlaws setting a cracking tempo here.
Fielder switching back over to that Baptiste. We have the blade from Sparkle, overclock from Edison.
Immortality field already deployed here for both sides. Fielder's back on the Baptiste here. No one wants to challenge this overclock from Edison. He has one more charged rail to let go. Holding on to it for a long time. Here is Sparkle trying to make something happen with the blade. As Hanbin winning out the front line fight though. Venn diagram of nastiness as both disruptor shots are deployed. A breather for both teams. Sparkle looks to get into the back line now, and Creative is in deep trouble. Immortality field for himself, and it gives Creative enough time to take Edison down. It's a good look, but it's not enough for Houston.
It's a masterclass from Dallas Fuel. They didn't get value from those ultimates, but inherently they created a lot of space for their team, isolate Dante, and that gets them across the line. Great presence of mind by Sparkle to recognize, I'm not the one who needs to win this fight.
I'm not that
Disengage.
guy.
I'm not that guy in this fight. Disengages, and now we've got 2.5 minutes to get through this second point.
Dallas slow but steady here. Trying to outlast this reckless aggression from Houston. Again, they exemplify it with this air matrix. And they're going to be able to catch Fielder and Chio out really early. No supports for the Dallas means no dub.
Dallas Fuel just not able to come up with an answer every time the Houston Outlaws step up to the plate. Due to some of those losses for the Outlaws, they're not going to be able to execute the same level of spawn camp that we saw from the Dallas Fuel. But they will have that positioning, and Dante with the Graviton Surge, he's going to be able to pick whenever he wants to be able to drop this Graviton Surge, because you can even rocket jump off of your right click to get over the wall whenever you want to.
Houston here want to make this painful. They want to levy a steep toll to the Fuel to let them advance. Graviton Surge here from Dante, sends it in. Fielder gets bubbled, everything to keep alive, and it works! A sound barrier from Chio. Stades off death, but this could be dangerous now. Pelican's blade coming in late in the fight. The beat was already used by Chio. Sparkle trying to stand up against this, but he can't. He's cut it in twain.
Hanbin throwing that grab by the wayside, throwing it at the bottom of the stairs, seeing nobody. This is not the Hanbin performance that we usually expect from him right now. Is, as I said, another reactive Graviton Surge. Dante throws it first. He thinks he needs to use it to turn the fight, but it just doesn't help at all.
To that giveaway that Dallas don't feel like they're in control of the game right now. Their hand continues to get forced, and with that comes errors. Overclock for Merritt. Fielder. Tough to get good value out of an Air Matrix here unless they round the corner or the Outlaws push into this long stretch, which they will, because they've done it all game, and Sparkle pinned to the wall there. Oh, that's dirty, Merritt!
Look at how far back Fielder dropped that amplification matrix. They are so defensive right now, and as much as we talk about Dallas Fuel feeling defensive, that is pure pressure from the Outlaws right now. They are just head full of steam getting in their face, and the Fuel just do not have an answer right now.
Pressure's on Dallas. 16 seconds left in the round, and you are being spawn camped. Created with the amplification matrix, that's scary stuff. Merritt able to capitalize, and now he bounds into the fray. He knows it's an Outlaws fight to win. And so they will. The cart's moving, there's a cheeky little back cap attempt here, but that smacks of desperation.
I've seen Chio win these before.
Yeah. Never count him out. Overtime now, try and keep it going. The blade from Sparkle to come in, but he's taken so much damage already. Dante trying to laser him down, and the Doomfist arrives for Hanbin. Okay, disrupt the shot of the card. Hanbin, big punch there. Dante forced to bubble self, but he gets rid of Hanbin eventually. The Doom is down. Here's the late grab. Fielder in the back gets caught. The Houston Outlaws light him up. 2-1.
Outlaws with a statement on that defense. This is their meta. This is their matchup. It feels like the Dallas Fuel might be the ones who have to blink, because right now, toe-to-toe, pound for pound on this Xayah Genji matchup, they are coming out second best.
Paraíso looks pretty good for Dallas, but here is a completely different story. The Outlaws, they keep finding a new level to take it to. Let's see if the Fuel can reciprocate as Map 4 looms around the corner. Don't miss your chance to see your heroes rise at our grand finals. Tickets are on sale now for November 3rd and 4th. You can get your tickets at overwatchleague.com/2022/playoffs, or just Google it if you're that way inclined, like I do with everything in life that I don't know how to do. Now, Dallas might want to Google playing aggressively against the Houston Outlaws.
I don't know if that would come up with a very good search result, but you can try. Rush, if you're out there.
Better than a certain Florida Mayhem hashtag, that's for sure.
The question for me with this Dallas Fuel team is, I understand that maybe the meta has shifted away from the Sombra, but it felt like Dallas Fuel were the pioneers of that style. So for me, it's just disappointing to not see Doha come into this lineup and really have that same level of impact, because that's really where they thrive, because that allows them to play aggressively with their tempo, punish teams that try and play aggressively against them. Because what they're doing right now versus the Houston Outlaws are getting the better end of it.
Both teams with a modicum of aggression, but Houston, I don't know what this confidence is they come in with. We kind of talk about Houston and their tendency to come to this arena against a crowd that's predominantly Fuel biased and take a win. I mean, pretty insane result it would be if Houston are able to replicate that here again, and one more map's all they need. New Queen Street is going to be our 4th map in this series, and still no substitutions.
Writing's on the wall. Seems like we're going to see the exact same thing that we just saw from both of these teams. And honestly, the standout for me in this match, obviously Merit's been great with that railgun, but Creative has just done such a good job of keeping his team alive. Every single amplification matrix is finding value. You have to put respect on this new Outlaw and what he is doing for this team.
Funny, not many trades benefit both teams in such a big way, right? Iris has also been resplendent for the Seoul Dynasty. Nice little shuffle, bit of a refresh for both squads, and they're both thriving as a result of it. We spent much of the start of this series discussing the tank matchup, saying that, you know, Dante has to dig deep and showcase that signature flexibility against the best Zarya in the league by the numbers. He's done that here in a big way. We are not used to seeing Hanbin forced to sort of reactively graviton, and it's pressure being put on him. It seems like it's too much to bear.
Just uncomfortable, right? That's what it feels like. And, you know, we've seen that in the past when he's not in the mirror matchup and it feels like a team is being oppressive to him. But this is straight up pound for pound Zarya versus Zarya, and Hanbin, it just feels like Dante's walking at him and he doesn't have the answer.
Well, I see a Tracer from Pelican. I get there's a lot of longer flanking routes here that Tracer can just traverse a little quicker.
There's no verticality in New Queen Street, so you don't really need that wall climb. You don't really need that. But funnily enough, we're actually going to see the roles flip. Sparkler's going to play that Genji, Pelican over to that Tracer. A hero that he's not as comfortable as the Genji, but if it works for this map, it might work for the Outlaws.
So be it. Houston looking to end the series here. And Dallas can't afford to let that happen, and it shows in their playstyle. Charging ahead, getting rid of Dante early, but the crackback is even worse. It's Merit finding two, both headshots.
And it was the aggression we wanted from the Fuel, but the Outlaws just able to punish it. We saw Pelican get into the backline, isolate Fielder, and then Hanbin just unable to sustain even after that first peak. And the first fight goes to the Outlaws.
This is Merit here. One.
Oh.
Two.
Oh, wow. Well, can't ask for more than that.
Very, very clean. Sparkle on the Tracer now, getting the memo, I guess. Okay, the Dallas Fuel drop down straight onto the bot. They're really wanting to get another fight started off as quickly as possible. Bear in mind, we've got Lastro Zen here.
And that is an interesting change, so that's going to make them slower. But in these drawn-out fights, right, where they're staring off at each other down the hallway,
long sidelines,
long sidelines, Lastro is going to get more value than Chio, and Sparkle just unable to get anything going in this match.
Merit is starting to run away with this one, Scott.
Yeah.
In the head-to-head, Edison's so dependable, so solid, getting outworked by Merit right now. That air matrix goes a long way for Fielder in finding creative. Dallas able to swing the needle back in their favor, but it's not over yet. Pelican has a pulse bomb here. May look to even the odds as quickly as possible.
You can see Outlaws just trying to find picks still. Lastro on that Zenyatta, but Dante will eventually fall. But Lastro trades it back.
Immortality Field, very clutch there from Fielder. Merit's in trouble though. This is messy stuff.
Just pushing back and forth, getting pick after pick. This is excellent play from both people, but as you said, it's just messy because there isn't any definitive fights going either way. Dallas Fuel starting to get this points up. They are going to take the lead on this one as ultimates start to come up. Creative will have the amplification matrix over Fielder because Fielder dropped it before. How are they going to try and find and get this one going?
Lead now in Dallas's hands. Pelican probing here, just testing. Recalled errors, Sparkle is on the scene to stave him off.
He's got a pulse bomb, he's looking for something.
Needs to get a little closer though, and yeah, Fielder very aware of the Tracer that's sort of honing in on his position. Fielder, despite the pressure from Pelican, is able to find that kill on Dante. What a pulse. Immortality Field down there for Fielder, but Dallas outlasting so far. The Graviton Surge had minimal follow-up, and Pelican comes alive with that kill on Edison. It's just not enough.
Pelican running away with the bot though, giving his team a little bit more time to come back. We're getting closer for the Dallas Fuel towards this checkpoint, and the checkpoint is so important in this push game mode. Butt scratch.
Yes!
It is. Sorry, Hex. Shout out to you. But yeah, the butt scratch is so important. The checkpoint is so important because all of a sudden you never have to deal with that delay again for the bot. So Outlaws trying to step up to this one. Fielder's going to drop the amplification matrix as Pelican's pulse bomb goes wide.
I mean, Merritt's got stones on him, Scott. He peeks into that and takes Fielder's head clean off. And Immortality Field's out of the picture here, but Dallas lose a key component of their fight. They need to come back in with a bit more aggression now. It's going to be Merritt surging ahead, and Edison plucks him out of the sky. Full charge here on this rail, of course. Overclock yielding him that extra power. Sparkle deals with Lastro. There's a lot of pressure right now on Edison. He wants to bathe inside his own disruptor shot. No checkpoint just yet here. Pelican.
Big 1v1 fight win there from Pelican. That will force the Dallas Fuel back and stop them from progressing it forward. Obviously, there's a little bit of back and forth, but the checkpoint will not come through. For me, we just saw it. Edison is the one who needs to step up for the Dallas Fuel. Match Merit in this Sojin head-to-head if the Dallas Fuel are going to start clawing this win back.
Win condition pretty clear for Dallas here. There's a pulse on the way for Sparkle, but it's Dante's grab you want to be looking at, and he fires it straight off. It's a beauty, Scott. Pulse bomb in there as well. Yep, they'll get Edison for their trouble, and that'll be an Outlaws fight.
And you can see the bot, Harmbin's dying late, but the bot is already pushing this checkpoint, so that will give the Outlaws a big lead as we move forward. But the Outlaws are out of ultimates. They're out of steam right now. They're going to want to play this as smart as possible. Dallas Fuel are going to come in hard. They need to deal with Sparkle with this pulse bomb and then find a way to find a clean engagement against the backline of the Fuel.
There was a window there where Sparkle could have pulsed without an Immortality Field as Creative was heading back to the point. Almost equalizing the Outlaws before Dallas swing in. Houston actually give up this ground quite happily here.
Don't want to fight because they don't have those ultimates, right? They're willing to give up a little bit of space to give themselves an advantageous thing. Lastro comes up with that sound barrier, but Hanbin's coming up with that Graviton Surge. What is this interaction going to unfold? As Fielder's flanking with the amplification matrix in the backline.
He's going for it. Graviton Surge now as well. Sound barrier out from Lastro, but it's not enough to keep Creative standing. Still some Outlaws players in the mix though, and now it's going to be the Fuel going for a beat of their own. They need to clean the Outlaws off and get the bot back in their territory, but it's still a messy fight, and Pelican is still sneaking off with the bot.
This is so back and forth, but the Outlaws are going to come out ahead in this one.
Hold on. Pelican, he was looking for Sparkle there. Sparkle's forced away. Even the Zarya bubble doesn't give him confidence to take this fight. He got him! Unreal!
Now you can see the Outlaws recognizing they will have this player advantage, but they need to wait for their reinforcements. Pulse bomb goes a little slide. Pelican can't go down as he gets a little overconfident.
Edison snipes him there. There's no purchase on that pulse bomb. Hanbin keeping a respectable distance from Merit here. Dante trying to push up though, but that Sojourn is down for the Outlaws. Dante's very charged up at the moment here. Hanbin though still seems confident enough to try and push him back. He's on the opposite side of the field, but it doesn't seem to bother him. Here come the Fuel.
This is just a tavern brawl at this point, just pound for pound, punch for punch, they're going back and forth. Neither team able to get this checkpoint, and only 4 meters between them.
A slim lead for Houston now. 3 minutes 40 left in the round. Sparkle's pulse bomb. He'll need to think outside of the box for this one. Pressure on Lastro is good and he gets the kill. Okay, here's the grab though from Dante, and it allows Merit to line them up and knock them down.
And with how close this bot is, this might be the checkpoint finally for one of these teams, and it will be the Houston Outlaws who draw first blood. And this is going to be a big undertaking with only 3 minutes remaining for the Dallas Fuel. Not much time to bring it back around to your favor.
Look at this stunning work from Merit. The checkpoint achieved here for the Outlaws at 57.18.
Look at that scratch.
Rust removal in progress.
And then even more importantly as well, they've gotten points past the checkpoint as well. So even if Dallas Fuel get that checkpoint, they're going to need to go further. As Hanbin's already under pressure, and Outlaws are looking to take it even further.
Twinkle Toes performance there from Merity. Slides on out of the way as the Amp Matrix came up for Fielder. Huge team kill, and now the Outlaws are looking like they may run away with it. A win here means the series and the title of the Kings of Texas is theirs.
There could have been some dispute that maybe Dallas were the better Texas team, and they just, that was the first match of the series, of the season, sorry. But all of a sudden, the Outlaws just getting so aggressive, touching the spawn doors of the Dallas Fuel, but getting punished for it.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to blow up in their face this time around. The Fuel rein them in, but they still have to address the significant deficit in bot progress that they have. Only half of the Outlaws' total here. There's a world where Dallas have to win the next 3 fights to equalize it.
Hanbin needs to find value with this grab. He needs to find an easy fight win for the Dallas Fuel because they have so much further to go. 45 meters to continue. Houston Outlaws are stepping up to the plate. Hanbin's trying to find a Graviton Surge, but can't find anything before they've already lost the fight.
No opportunity to make use of it here. He's going to have to hold on to it and hope for a later fight. All they get is Sparkle digging creative out. That's it. Nothing more.
The bot's already moving. They've already almost got it to get a little bit more time on the checkpoint. And once again, Outlaws choosing the tempo of these fights. Dallas Fuel never able to find it. And all of a sudden, with 1 minute remaining, it's getting dire for the Dallas Fuel. They need this one.
That's the grab here from Harmony. Lets it go, and Dante allows it to happen. Silver is able to find a cheeky kill, and Sparkle looks frustrated there. This is where the Fuel really wanted to build up that head of steam. They have to maintain possession of the bot for the rest of this map.
Dante with their Graviton Surge will be able to find his way. They're trying to isolate one of their targets. They found Merit in the corner, but Hanbin's just unable to get up there.
Eventually he does, ascends the stairs, but there's no targets there for him anymore. The Graviton Surge, Harmon's caught inside of him. There's the Amplification Matrix behind him. Still Fielder and Harmbin fall. The ultimate gets little value. It's only Edison who can capitalize on it, and still the Outlaws are pushing ahead. 35 seconds left. It's going to take a miracle to get the Fuel out of this one.
We talked about it in map 2. Dallas Fuel know how to make miracles happen. Houston Outlaws, dare I say it, have been known to slip on a banana from time to time. So Outlaws, you need to play smart, need to play safe. Don't overcommit. Don't get pressured to do something. As you can see, they're doing exactly that. Back up. Take a fight on your terms.
10 seconds of regulation time remaining. And the hopes of the Fuel staying alive in this series hinges on them maintaining possession of the robot. It'll be an overtime push, and they're going to have to win 3 team fights, if not more.
Merit with the overclock. How many times has he won fights with them with just this ultimate?
Look at these ults. Houston have all of them. Astro comes in with a sound barrier. Fielder's lost his immortality field already, and Merit's going to fire up. He's found 2. Who is left of the Dallas Fuel? The Outlaws surge ahead. The bot's theirs in overtime. Ticks down. They say, sorry, Dallas. This town ain't big enough for the 2 of us.
Houston Outlaws always know how to perform in Texas. Able to win this one 3-1 and upset a lot of people's predictions for this series. The home crowd is going home disappointed today.
No one poops a party like the Houston Outlaws, Scott. What a showing from this upstart team, sitting again well within qualification for the playoffs, but many question marks over this team's head about how they'd fare in a metagame like we have. Dallas, it was the complete opposite. There was no question that they were the most dominant team in the West up until this point, and uncharacteristically, it's happened a few times this year. They drop a game and they drop it to their rivals, even crucially. Just an insane performance from Houston, though.
You have to really put a lot of credit on this Houston Outlaws team. They are a team that has been through so many ups and downs this season. Dante on a very unfamiliar hero. The power, the raw mechanical skill from their individual players, pulling it together with great teamwork, beats a team like the Dallas Fuel, the #1 seed in the West. Maybe not for much longer after this loss, though.
It's hard to believe that this match could have gone so strongly this way. You can see these Fuel players very, very interested in packing up their peripherals at this time.
Dante's like, hey, cheer.
No social calls at the moment, yeah. Obviously a tough game to lose, but the bright side of this for Dallas is that, you know, in the scheme of the season, right, this game doesn't have any sort of wider implications for playoffs outside of the fact that it could result in Dallas seeding that #1 slot either to San Francisco or the Seoul Dynasty.
We can talk about seedings as much as we want. I think the biggest blow to the Dallas Fuel is going to be their confidence in this match. They are a team that has been so dominant, and they haven't been dropping maps at all. They dropped 1 map so far in this stage. They hadn't lost a series since the mid-season madness. This will come back to bite them, and they're going to need to regain, because going into the playoffs, that's when it all matters.
And we have so many questions about this team this time. What happened to Doha? What happened to the Sombra play?
Where's the Sombra?
You know, we saw Dallas really find success when they were able to back up their Genji with the Ana, but it seems like there's a consensus now that that's not the way to play this meta.
Fearless, we've seen him making a resurgence, playing that little bit of Winston. Obviously, maybe not the map pool for that, so they have that in their back pocket, but back to the drawing board with this Xayah Genji composition.
No doubt about it. It's time to talk about our player of the match here for the Houston Outlaws. Someone from the very beginning having an incredible showing amongst some teammates, all firing on all cylinders. The player of the match today is none other than Merit.
How many times in this series did he just get an opening pick? He did it at the very start of the series. He did it at the very end of the series. Not just with this overclock, just able to find value time and time again. When we were going into this season, Killer went to the Shock, Merit went to the Outlaws, and they were both from O2 Blast, great hit scan players. Merit as a rookie has massively outperformed expectations. Not only that, he has the flexibility to back it up.
And he doesn't demand the spotlight, you know what I mean? He just tends to take it with really solid performances like this one. We've talked about the Fuel and their strengths, obviously. Look, getting Edison into the game is a huge part of the win condition for Dallas, right? He was completely eclipsed by Merit's, performance over the course of this series. Play like this one, right? It's a Graviton surge to set it up, but Merit's finding kills in even more difficult situations. And the Outlaws, I mean, you've got to give them credit to have the stamina to push through a series like this. Yeah, it's only 4 maps, but it's definitely a long one. And it's one where your bandwidth mentally is so taxed, right? You're constantly, running into each other, constantly brawling. And 12 final blows per 10. What an astonishing performance here on the Soju.
Absolutely ridiculous. In front of that Dallas Fuel's home crowd as well, the pressure is on you in that situation. Incredible performance individually from him, but not just from Merit, from the entire Houston Outlaws. They are a team to be feared right now going into the playoffs. Will this finally be the moment, the Houston Outlaws that we've been praying for, hoping for over the last couple of years in the playoffs? We'll only have to wait and see.
Think about some of the other teams that sort of share that top 6 with them, right? We know we've got the Shock, we've got the Gladiators, we've got the Fuel. At this point, any of those teams looks like fair game for the Houston Outlaws. It's a really bright outlook for this team. All they need to do, I think, is get a handle on the playoff meta as quickly as possible, right? Hit the ground running, and all of a sudden, they're like a favorite in so many of those matchups.
Going into the playoff patch as well, it doesn't look that different to where we are right now. Obviously, Kiriko is going to come into this lineup, but we don't really know what her impact will be in these meta. So for the Houston Outlaws, everything's coming up Aces because they look dominant right now. And if they do need to go to a Kiriko meta, Dante will play out or something like that.
I'm sure they'll move him on there. Great stuff. It's been a pleasure to be here out in Dallas for an incredible matchup between our 2 Texas teams. Scott, always a pleasure, mate. Put
Cheers,
it there.
mate. Adelaide represent.
Yeah, let's make it happen again soon. Thank you very much for joining us here. We're going to head back, of course, for our post-game to break down the day that has been. And what a day it has been.
Nice, good job, guys.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Upper Deck, the official trading card of the Overwatch League. And by TeamSpeak, the official voice supplier of the Overwatch League.